because storytelling is the only thing really that's innate and common throughout all of human history and all of humans, is that we all just tell stories all the time. That's how we got to where we are. So anything that allows you to do that is always going to have like a connecting thread, I think. Anyway.
Welcome to What is Comics, where Jamie Jones and myself, Matt Sardo, try to figure out what is comics.
That's right. Welcome to the official Indie Comics Creator Con podcast with me and Matt. We're here. And this week we're talking to the most infectious man I maybe have ever met. Every time I talk to him, I want to start making more comics. And that man is no other than Mahdi Khene.
He approached me outside of IC3 early in the morning. It was a little brisk out, and he was just running around. He's like, "Where's the hall for this?" And having that first exchange with him before anybody else showed up, like, he's ingrained in my head as an IC3 staple, and it's always a pleasure to talk with him and see him at other conventions. And like you said, his personality, his creativity, just the whole package of Mahdi is perfect for comics.
Yeah, he is the embodiment of the convention. I feel like there's certain creators that are like, yeah, you're what we want. You're who this convention is for and who this convention is about. And I feel like he is kind of the pinnacle of what Indie Comics Creator Con represents. Should we talk a little bit about Indie Comics Creator Con?
We should. For the newbies, please like and subscribe What is Comics on YouTube. We have our podcasts are on iTunes and Spotify, all that stuff. So hit that notification bell. That's all the cool kids are saying today is like subscribe and hit the notification bell. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, smash that like button.
Smash the like button. That's fun things to do. But no, this whole thing is about Indie Comics Creator Con. It is March 15th in New Haven, Connecticut at Southern Connecticut State University. It's a one-day show. It's amazing. I did the count. I did the official count. We have 169 creators coming to the show.
I think we can round up. I think we can round up to 170. I think we can just start saying it's 170.
Jim Rugg, Tom Scioli, and Dean Haspel, Ken Landgraf are coming to town. Yeah, we have gift bags for the first 100 attendees. And you can't see it behind me, but I have tons of boxes. All the creators are giving me cool things to put in the gift bags. I've got some mini comics. I've got some like nice postcards, some bookmarks, some stickers, lots of really cool things.
That's awesome. Tickets are only $8, and I know Matt's going around and handing off free tickets to a lot of comic shops, so maybe you can snag one of those. Portfolio reviews happening at the show with editor-in-chief of Mad Cave and senior editor Heather Antos of IDW, so it's going to be really fun. That's fun times. Portfolio reviews.
That's going to be really interesting. I've had a few creators already be like, hey, how do I get on that list? Because I want to like up the name and build things from there. We have the scavenger hunt, which is going to be really awesome, where you get, because we're taking over the whole entire third floor of the student center at Southern Connecticut, and there's different rooms. So if you collect all the stamps from the different rooms, you'll get a prize, and then you are in charge of the grand prize at Drink and Draw.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna have a big giant jam piece. It's gonna be a really fun piece. I think it's at the end of the day, it's gonna be, the thing to covet.
Go to indiecomicscreatorcon.com for all the details. Now we can talk about sponsors.
All right, we've got some sponsors for IC3, and I'd like to just say thank you to them right now. Comics Wellspring for all your indie comics printing needs. And Cosmic Lion Productions for all your indie comics publishing needs. And Dark Horse Comics has gifted us with some comics and lanyards and things, and they're sponsored the show. Monkeys Fighting Robots. I've heard of those guys. And New Haven's Alternate Universe.
Also, now that we're part of the Comics Art family, go to the YouTube page and go to Comic Art Live, and also check out the new app, Comic Art Fans. Go to iTunes or Google Play Store. I have it. I built a cool gallery. A lot of Jamie's art in that gallery. I think James got a gallery of his art too. But the app is awesome.
So without further ado, should we get into the episode? Should we kick it off? Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, the Mahdi Khene.
I would self-produce all my albums. Just kind of, I had a little studio. I had the drums and everything. I would lay down a drum track, then do the bass, guitars, piano, the vocals, and then yeah.
When you say studio, like in your apartment, or did you like go to a studio to get everything done?
No, home studio. Yeah, my neighbors were not happy that I had a drum set in my apartment, but what can I do? You know, I put like rugs down and stuff. But essentially, I ended up making comics the same way I make music, which is just all on my own and just going for it. Yeah, not a lot of thought that goes into the art I make.
It was something like that. It has like a long guitar solo in it. It's a 6-minute track.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Thank you,
I'm really glad that I listened to it today and everything. It like got me in like nice
That's
mood.
good.
I feel like I know more about you now by listening to your music.
I mean, yeah, the music is like the soul of me. You know, the comics are like this, you know, the humor and like the little thoughts I have, but the music is like the pain, the deep pain.
I didn't know that these like shows would connect like this, but like Tony McMillan's a musician.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
he was saying that writing music makes it easier for him to write comic books.
When you think about it, it's all storytelling in the end. You know, there's no difference between storyboarding, comic book making, movie making. It's all about stories. So any medium that can allow you to make stories they're going to have the similar vein. Poetry, all of it. Because storytelling is the only thing really that's innate and common throughout all of human history and all of humans, is that we all just tell stories all the time. That's how we got to where we are. So anything that allows you to do that is always going to have like a connecting thread, I think. Anyway.
You say that you do underground comics.
Yes.
What does that mean? What does underground comics mean to you?
I don't, I think it's just a level. I think you make underground comics until other people decide that you don't, because I think it just means no one can see me because I'm underground. Like no one's paying attention. I think that's what it is. And then when I get above ground, that's when things are going to shift a little bit, and then I become mainstream, and then that's it. Maybe.
Do you think it's like the underground comics movement in the 70s, right, is a bunch of guys who are doing stuff and doing well? Like Crumb is extremely Crumb's loaded. Is he still underground? Is that do we have a problem with verbiage where underground is art style, or is underground the distribution model, or is it just a vibe? I tend to shy away from it's a vibe as a person.
Okay.
But I understand what the vibe is. I as a formalist, I hate the idea of not having a definition attached to it.
I've never thought about it really, but I don't know. Thinking about it, I would say, I don't know, maybe I am a vibe person. You know what? Maybe not vibe, but attitude, I think. Because if I think about it, if you're with your friends and you guys are all, misfits and criminals and pirates, and you guys are all making shit, you're making art, and you're trying to, and one of them makes it out, you can't be anything but happy for them. Do they lose their cred? Are the Rolling Stones not rock and roll because they sing Start Me Up? I don't know. They still did Exile on Main Street. You know what I mean? They still have that in their belt. They're still the same guys.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So maybe it's just an attitude to approach it. Maybe. But how underground is it to go mainstream? It's pretty underground. That's pretty like that.
Oh yeah, you really,
you know what I mean?
really sticking it to the man. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, imagine you're infiltrating, you're going in, selling your soul. Like that's pretty badass.
Well, you got your start doing comics. If we look, like Steel Streets was your first thing, right? Or like your first like major thing, the one-shot Steel Streets book.
I don't even know if it was a major thing. I think Bootleg Spider-Man was my first.
Not major thing, but like a thing that you completed, right? Like, okay, I'm going into comics. I'm making this thing.
I had done 5 issues before doing a Steel Streets.
Okay.
Because I had the whole other series, the Zuperhero Comics Presents, where essentially when I did my first ever convention, I had already done 4 issues of comics.
Okay.
So my first convention, I had 4 books down. and then I did one more, I think, and then I had the idea to start doing zines and one shots, and that's when I did the one shot of Steel Streets, and then that gained a little popularity just because of the tie-in with the black and white boom and the movement that was going on with bringing back duotone and all that stuff. Yeah. So I think, but anything before Steel Streets, it's true that it was just kind of, I was just making, but nothing really, nothing was really catching on in terms of like story and whatever. Yeah.
Do you think that's, are you looking at that in terms of the way the audience is responding, or is it purely just like, this isn't I'm doing stuff and I'm trying to figure out what I connect to so I can continue to make stuff? Or is it I
think there's a little bit of both. A little bit of both, because without the audience, I'm not a creator that I won't stick to one thing. I won't beat it to death just because I believe in it. Yeah. If I do a couple issues of something and nobody likes it, then I'm not going to keep going because I'm not getting anything back from it anyway. Yeah. So it loses its kind of you got to know when to abandon ship a little bit. But I don't know. I think
So you could have canceled like Walking Dead after like the 6th issue then, because the story behind that is like it was, Robert Kirkman was writing Walking Dead and it wasn't doing very well like after 6 issues, and they're like, oh, they're gonna cancel, and then he's like, well, I'm just gonna killing people off and nobody's gonna know what's gonna happen, and he like adjusted and then it jumped in. So it's an interesting take that like you feed off of the vibe coming from the audience.
Well, I think it's, if I was Robert Kirkman and I really believed in something, I think that would sustain something enough, to keep going. I say all this, but like I still did 6-7 issues of other books without them selling. So, you know what I mean? So I do play on it, but a little bit. I don't need much, I guess, of feedback to keep going. It's like if I make a comic and then one guy reaches out to me and be like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like, well, the people want it. The people have spoken. The person has spoken, and I am. But I mean, I don't know. But yeah.
So what is it about Steel Streets that caught either the attention of the audience or your attention, your drive to make it and go more than just one issue, right? If you're doing a bunch of one issues and you're setting up a universe and you're doing the Zuperhero Presents stuff and you're making bigger and bigger, like the world is growing and growing and growing.
Right.
And then you launch Steel Streets and then you're like, I can actually sit with this one for a while. What was that decision like?
It was because I got bored with the other thing. I was doing it. Actually, I was working on the 6th issue of Zuperhero Comics Presents, where I made one of the characters from there have a helmet. And then I was thinking about, I'm like, doing all these kind of one shots that connect, it all feels too big. I need kind of a street level thing. I just wanted to refresh the like take away the cobwebs a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I just started. Steel Streets was only meant to be a one-off zine. It wasn't supposed to continue. But when I did it, and then people started, talking about the Ninja Turtles and how it reminded them of that, I was like, ooh, that'd be kind of fun. And that's when I had the idea of, because I'm kind of, I'm a little insane with the whole, because I think about things in the grand scheme. I rarely think about things day to day. In the grand scheme of things, I'm like, okay, so Daredevil happens and Ronin. Then 20 years after that, the Ninja Turtle guys homage that. I'm like, yeah, but now I'm homaging that. So in the grand scheme, Ronin, Daredevil, Ninja Turtles, and Steel Streets are going to be in the same conversation, in the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
This plays into a lot of what I've been thinking about. It's consumed my daily thoughts, is the conversations you have with the creators of the past.
Yeah.
It's less of a, and I think you do this very well. I think Michelle Fife did this really well with Copra, right? Taking something that is already established and then putting your own spin on it, but not as a bootleg thing. Like you are trying to make something as it would fall in line with the conversation continues and grows and becomes a bigger thing.
Exactly. I'm taking the inspirations and just rolling with them. Yeah. Without ripping them off, without doing anything. I like to homage. I like to give respect to all the creators before me that did amazing, people that inspired me, basically.
Yeah. You seem to take what is also tropey about the stuff and play on that, which I think is less less egregious than just like straight up, taking a character and putting it into a book and being like, oh, his name is not Wolverine, it's the honey badger. Or whatever,
sure. Yeah. No, but absolutely, and because I think that's also an imitation of life, is that we live in ridiculousness but take it very seriously, and I think that's how we exist as people, is that half our lives are just shenanigans, but it's so important to us, and so it's kind of taking the ridiculous and having those characters in the story take that ridiculousness seriously, and it drives compelling storylines. Whether the dialogue is "fuck you, fuck this," whatever, that's how I write. I'm a Shakespeare of the street, you know what I mean? I'm not, nobody looks at my grammar, because half the time it's like apostrophes here and it's a lot of whatever. But I don't know. I think in the second issue of Steel Streets, I wanted to keep it going, but tie it into the Ninja Turtles with a wink, wink, And then I remember I continued that sort of in issue 3 with the cover that was an homage to issue 2, I think, of Ninja Turtles. But then by the time I got to issue 4, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, the Ninja Turtles went to space. Should I go to space? And I was thinking about that, and that didn't feel right. Half the time when I'm writing stories and I'm thinking about it, there's just noise in my head, and I'm just letting things ride. And then when something feels right, it all clears up, and then it becomes smooth.
Do you find yourself, this is a process thing that I like to do, is just like ideas will come, and if the idea is good, it stays with me for like a day or two. But if the idea is, that's kind of how I've been filtering out stuff. I know a lot of guys that just write down every idea that they have, and what happens for me is like I'll end up writing down a bunch of really crappy ideas, and then I have to parse which one's good and which one I'm actually interested in.
Interesting.
But the thing that sticks with me for a month is like, okay, this is what it needs to be.
I do something similar, but without any of the writing or thinking, where I just I let it ride, man. I just let it.
Yeah.
I have this, like this new book I'm doing, the Light Man, or L'Uomo Luce. I had this character design that I did, this guy, and I was just like, ooh, it seems fun, it seems weird, I don't know what it is, and I hadn't started it, and I was just kind of like, okay. I didn't start it because I didn't know what to do with it. I had an idea here, but if it doesn't feel right, I don't do it. And then I was in a bookstore and I found these Italian erotic comics with these like pocketbook size things. And when I saw these, I was like, Light Man, and it just all fit. And so now I'm doing Light Man, but it's called L'Uomo Luce in Italian, and I'm writing a book in Italian. Do I speak Italian? No. Will I speak Italian by the end of it? Sure, maybe. But that felt right to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if because that felt, it's ridiculous, it's insane, but it felt right. And because of that feeling, now I'm on this every day. I'm Duolingo Italian, and I'm learning the grammar. And sto imparando italiano molto bene. Tutto bene qui. It's happening. It's happening. We're all going. We're going with the flow here. And at the end of it, I'm gonna make a pocketbook in Italian with a little translation that people hire, a little mock-up, traduzione. And am I alienating my readers? Sure, but I'm underground, right? So what?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. And that is where the vibe of underground comes in, right? Like you're working on the vibe of what underground is. Is that underground? Yeah, probably.
It's the idea.
Maybe you'll get really popular in Italy.
One can only hope. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think, to come back to the underground, the vibe, I think that's what it is. It's an artist just looking at their work completely subjectively, like not caring about anything, just doing exactly what you want. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. So in my mind, if an underground creator is true to themselves and does their thing and it becomes widely popular, I got no problem with that. Like a Robert Crumb, he's been himself. He's just him. He didn't change to be mainstream. He just became mainstream within a culture. So if that's the case, yeah. But if like you can always tell when someone sells out or tries to sell. But also beyond the art, we all got to live. So I got nothing bad to say about anybody. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like I just have definitions for what I do, and then
Yeah.
My head is spinning over my past weekend at OAX, and like
Sure.
now I can't wait for you to meet Simone Bianchi and hand him this book. Be like, I'm not
Sure.
Italian, but I made
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, also there's that. I know the Italian's going to be terrible, but man, it's
Yeah,
fun.
listen, you pick up any random comic book in English and it's terrible. It doesn't have to be, like comic books don't have to be like we're not
There we
Twain,
go.
right? Like we're not
There we
Mark
go.
Twain.
Yes.
We're not
Yeah,
Jane
yeah, yeah.
Austen. We're making comic
Yeah,
books,
That's right.
and it's. I mean,
Yeah.
we can try. We can only hope, and we can only strive to be the best that we can be. But at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
pictures on paper, right? Like
That's
it's
true. Yeah, no,
not
you're
great.
right. You're right. You're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, but yeah.
Two things.
Yeah.
Jamie, you got to inform the audience on Twain of what you're trying to do this year.
Oh, I'm reading all of Twain this year. That's my
Is that what you're doing? Okay.
that's my 2025. Yeah.
Just reading all.
All
of
of
Twain.
Twain?
I'm trying to read all of Twain. Yeah.
How many books is that?
It's a lot of books. It's 619 short stories.
Jeez.
So the short stories, I've been reading a short story every night, and that like just as I
Okay.
go to bed. They're about
Perfect.
5 to 20 minutes, so it's like it's really easy to do. But
Sure.
man,
Wait, but just
it
by the
changed-
sheer numbers, yeah, that's not one a day. We
No,
only
oh, okay.
365 days in the year, Jamie.
Well, some are 5 minutes long. Some take or just a
I
couple
see.
pages. So
I
you're
see.
able to
You
like
gotta
rip
run.
through a couple. Yeah.
Got it.
Listen, I'll get there.
The real question
Last
is
year,
why.
I read all of Winnie the Pooh.
All of Winnie
Really?
the Pooh.
I did.
Oh,
I got
wow.
the book, and my kids and I we read all of Winnie the Pooh.
I
Which
wish
I
I
want
had
to, just so
goals.
you know, this is my little tangent here. Winnie the Pooh. It's
Yeah.
the original Seinfeld. They're all
Winnie the Pooh's the original
They're all on their back.
What's up with all this honey? Oh my god.
So let's
What
talk
was
about
the first
printing.
show that you? What was the first show that you tabled at, Maddie?
Me, it was the first show was BIX, Brooklyn Independent Comics Showcase in Brooklyn, hosted by
What year?
St. Mark's Comics. What year? 2022, I think.
Okay.
2022.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was-
Mahdi is part of the crew that comes up and it's like COVID hits, everyone starts making comics, and then
Yeah,
it's like this the insane boom of people making stuff.
which is amazing.
Constantly. And you have come up, and then I don't know how, I don't know why. It's a beautiful thing. I'm glad you have, but you
Whoa,
have
whoa,
cut
whoa.
through the shaft.
Excuse me. Hey, wait. You don't
You
know
have-
how? You don't know why? I'm gonna
Yeah.
need you to backtrack that. No, I'm kidding.
But you have risen to a place in. I know how. We've had conversations about a lot of this stuff, but
I'm just
it's interesting to see like what has stuck and what continues to stick. And there's a bunch of people out there making stuff all the time, and all it takes is one thing to kind of like make you rise above. And you're also producing godly amounts of work. Like it's just, I feel like every 2 days there's more Mahdi art and more Mahdi comics, and it's great.
Well, yeah, that's nice.
And that's a beautiful thing. Like it's also like your stuff is solid, and it is, there's a lot to read. It's solid work with a lot to do, a lot to read. So it works at a better, like it's just law of attrition, I guess.
I mean, I guess it's just it's become a body of work, which is cool, which I like. But honestly, I mean, I don't think I do anything differently to other creators. I have a little luck. Maybe I'm personable. I go for any opportunity, but mostly I think, what it was? I was dropping off comics once at JHU in New York here. And I was asking the guy, because, it was the beginning. I was just going, it was consignment. I was dropping off my books. And every month I would come in with a new book. And he was like, "Jesus, Marty, you're really producing." And I'm like, yeah. This is when I had a full-time gig as a barista. You know what I mean? I was drawing panels on the espresso machine. You know what I mean? So it was just that. And I was asking him, I was like, "Yo, so what, as a comic book dude, you've been in the game for 40 years. How do I, how do I get it?" He was like, "Marty, there's a simple truth that, what do people do when they finish reading a comic?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "They pick up another fucking comic." I was like, "Interesting. So you're saying I need to work twice as hard?" He's told me basically, indie guys, you make a book and people get attached to the story. It's a vulnerable thing to be attached to a story, and they put their trust in you to like carry them on. If the next book comes out in 6 months, you lose their trust. If it takes you two, for an issue 1 and then issue 2 is 3 months, people forget you. You know what I mean? You have to carry that trust. So I figured if I can just produce a lot more, it doesn't always have to be good. That's the thing, not being precious about your work. You have to just move it forward, because at a certain point, after a while, you do become undeniable. Whether the body of work, you're nitpicking at it, it's like a discography of a musician. Not every song is good. Not every page in a book is good, but the body of work is what matters. And so after I realized that all I had to do was produce more than everybody else of my cohorts and everything, then I started seeing results. Because at a certain point, the first week you hear of Zuperhero Comics, you're like, that's a joke. And then after a year, you're like, wait, there's fucking 12 Zuperhero Comics books? Okay, cool. And then all of a sudden it's a publisher. And now there's, you get submissions. And you're just kind of like, it's this machine that just keeps, this ball that just keeps rolling. And if you don't let your foot off the gas and you manage to be true to yourself and your vibe and everything, then it's possible to move forward. And also, comics is one of the last art forms that has physical media, and people love physical media in the industry, and the people that like in the fan base and everything. So there's still a middle class. There's money. You can make a living, which is also very important. But honestly, I think it's a combination of being steadfast, having a vision, wanting to work extremely hard, and I got lucky too. That my work resonated with people like Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor and everything. So for example, when they covered my stuff on Kayfabe, I had a hot book for a little bit, but it opened the door. A lot of eyes were like, oh, but there's also other stuff here. I didn't just have the one, They looked at it, they're like, oh, there are a few things here. So
that's the thing that I have been trying to tell young students and kids and people trying to get into the industry is like, how do I make it? How do I do this? And I was like, well, you do a bunch of 8-page comics. And then when one person gets one book, they will insert you out, and there's 10 more 8-pagers. You've got, it's a body of work thing. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Speaking of body of work thing, you recently signed with Fireball Printing, right?
Yeah.
And so you now you're exclusive to them. So you have a deal. You're getting books on like at $6. Books are $6.
Yeah, I was able to finally.
That's it. You did it. Like you figured out a way to produce and also produce things at a similar quality or a really high like quality of the paper. The books look great, but at the same quality and timeline as major publishers, that are, over 40% of the market share on a shelf, and you are now not only competing with those people, but competing with them financially, right? Like a lot of indie books are $10 plus for a single issue, and you were able to sign a deal and make a thing and make books on the cheap.
That was the vision. That was the point. I remember when I started. How did I discover Fireball Prints? I was in the coffee shop I worked at. They dealt with the signage, so I would get boxes from Fireball Prints delivered to the cafe of just signs and booklets that they would do for the cafe. And then when I was looking for a printer, I went through some printers, but I didn't. I was on the hunt. I had an idea of what I wanted my books to feel like.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, there's a lot of comic book printers, but anybody can saddle stitch a book together. So I found this they're an indie printer, they're a small printer in Philly. I mean, small-ish, but so I stuck with them, and my vision, I said to myself, okay, at a certain point, the business acumen has to kick in. You have to be like, how can I get deals? How can I offer value? How can I make it good for them and for me as well? All these things. And then it leads to the point where I never wanted my books they had to be $10. Yeah. But $10 is a big ask. It's a big ask for a book that people don't know, don't have any emotional attachment to, from somebody they don't know. It's a huge ask. But $6 is more manageable, you know? So the idea was to always kind of scale it in that way to be able to just kind of, but that's what it is. You just have to find these opportunities, I think. You have to look for them actively, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the whole package of Mahdi Khene. When I look at you, there's like third. It's like I have the artist, the entertainer, and then I have the businessman. It's that's how I visualize. But it's like you put it all together, and I mean, because some people I see tables and they're an artist and they just have their head down and they're drawing art and everything like that. And then then there's I guess there's the artist / entertainer where they're like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they're kind of more outgoing and stuff like that. But you're always looking at the business side of the whole thing as well. Like, where's all this coming from?
Trial and error. Honestly, it's my education is in the rearview mirror. Let's say, not give out too many details, but it's kind of like you just sort of, for example, let's talk in practical terms so that people can get something out of it. When I did Bootleg Spider-Man and I got a lot of orders, I was not ready for those orders because I didn't, at the time I was selling my mail order business was I get an order, I pack it up nicely and I go to the post office and I wait online and I go to the thing and they, weigh it there and I pay for it. And that's a day, 5 max in a week, something like that. I do Bootleg Spider-Man. I underestimated how popular it would be. And so at a certain point, I'm at the post office with bags of comics, and the poor girls at the register, they're looking at me, they're like, dude, no. After the second time I did that, they're like, you can't be doing this. You cannot be doing this. I'm like, it's okay. I brought them chocolate. It was nice, and I would just chat for about 45 minutes as she weighed each individual thing. And then the lady at the post office was like, what are you doing? Like, how are you living like this? And I'm like, what do you want me to do? She's like, have you heard of, you pay for it at home and then you just drop it off? And I was like, can you tell me more about this, please? And then I realized that there was a whole other thing that I could do. And so then I got the infrastructure that I needed, I got the label maker, I got the ship station account, the scale and everything. And then the next time I came in with huge bags, they looked at me. I was like, it's already paid for, ladies. We did it. It's all good. Like, I'm legit now. It's all good. And so we did that. And so that's what it's just, as I'm faced with an issue and I have to solve it, And so the business acumen, I understand the basic thing that I need to sell these things to keep something going, It's just fuel for more books. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And
so with that goal in mind, or with that underlying understanding, then you just have to be open and I ask for advice. My older brother, he's good at business. I ask for advice. I'm not a pretentious person. I always want to learn from people. And so if someone tells me you got to do this and I'm uncomfortable with it because it's just like, it's not, I don't know, like, what do you mean actively sell? What do you mean like reach out to people? What do you mean? I just swallow my pride and I'm like, let's just fucking do it. They know better than I do. Let's try it. Cold call places. Let's go to each comic shop. Let's pitch. Let's become salesmen, And so that's all it was really. And then at a certain point, you just, like anything, if you do it enough, you get better at it. And once you get better at it, then it becomes more natural. And then, then things move forward. But really, it was just trial and error, honestly. Yeah.
But no, like you have like Superhero Comics where like you have like that 50s thing where you get like the not the decoder ring, but you get the badge and the bag and all the other stuff.
Sure.
Like
the Zuperhero Guild of America.
Branding with that. And now you have other artists drawing your stories. Like, what's going on now?
Well, that was also part of the vision. So when I started making these comics, the whole premise of Zuperhero Comics Presents was that each issue, they're all one-shots, and the name of the comic series is Zuperhero Comics Presents, and each issue is the individual title. Because in my mind, I thought, what if they were all on the newsstand and you had 1950s was black and red and this, and each one in my head was going to be a series eventually. And so as time moves on, I was like, oh yeah, I want an artist on black and red. I want an artist on the radicals. I want an artist this, that. Each one can have its own series after a while. And honestly, now I'm just like-minded people, I think, are attracted to each other in terms of vibe, in terms of what we're all trying to do. One of which, Jamie Jones. You know, we even traded pages, traded spaces in our respective books, where he did a beautiful 8-pager in the Radicals that I wrote and he drew, and then I did an 8-pager that he wrote and I drew. And so there's things like that, this community there. And now I don't know, I can't really, nothing has been announced yet, but I have 4 more artists that are going to come in and we're going to keep doing work. I got Jonathan Marks Baravecchia next month coming out with Punk Slim 2, you know, and he's the artist from Bear Pirates of a Viking Queen, you know, a good friend of mine. Just this month we released Creep Sneak Kill with Anya the Dreamer Driffle on drawing duties. So we're kind of just building this little, you know, I don't know, the bullpen in a way.
Yeah, it's really you really inspired me last Heroes Con when we were talking about stuff, and that's when we decided that we were going to write each other's stories. And we were on a phone call and we were talking about Spacao, and Mahdi is the most infectious person in the world. Every time we have had a phone call, every single time I get off and I'll look at my girlfriend and she was like, "Oh, how was the call?" And I was like, "It's great. I need to talk to Mahdi more." It always makes me really excited to make comics.
Call me anytime, man.
Yeah, but opening up a little bit, I've been so insular and like single-minded and like, you know, been burnt a bunch of times where I was just like, all right, I guess I'm going to learn how to color myself. I'm going to learn how to do all of these different skills. And then the package is this. Finally, I feel like it's finally happened where there's a bunch of people who have come in to an industry that now that the dust has settled, right? After the COVID boom of comics, the dust has settled and you can kind of see who's still standing. And all of the guys that are still standing really want to be doing this, and that's really exciting. And it's opened up, like talking to you and having conversations with you about building these kind of magazines and building an infrastructure was the whole reason I'm like trusting people creatively again. Like,
God, that's you're killing me here.
You also said something about Spacao that made me we were on the phone and I was like, yeah, I'm doing like this in one-man anthology book, and you very plainly said, no, you're not. You're doing independent Mad. That's what you're doing. You're doing independent Mad magazine. That's what you're doing. And I was like, I don't know. And you're like, no, you don't know it yet, but that's what you're doing. I was like, okay.
So Mahdi, I thought that
right. And that's when I put that in there. That was after our conversation.
Really?
Yeah.
Beautiful. But this is indie comics. The fact that you can do this. You can put in I have to find a way I want to put this on my wall. It's a poster. It's amazing. Well, thank you, Jamie. I mean, I'm equally inspired and equally, you know, enthused every time we discuss and everything. I say it on record, Will Eisner of our generation. I don't know where my square is in this, but I'm pointing up because he's there for me. But
other way, other direction.
Here?
Up. There
you
go.
There you go. Oh. Will Eisner of our generation. Yeah, I'll say it. Yeah, for sure. No, but this is it. It's like you said. I like that idea. The people that are still standing, the people that still have the passion for it, the people that still want it. We all just want to express and do amazing things. And when we can lighten the load for each other or just inspire each other, sometimes it's just about inspiring each other, you know? Yeah. It's just about, I remember when I started writing scripts for people, it was weird too, because I was like, I need to, you know what it was for me? The first one I did was with Jonathan, was Punk Slim and Mop Top Bop 1. And I remember I was like, I'm going to write this script, okay, but you know, I have a style, whatever. And then the minute he started drawing, I was like, I am like, what the fuck am I talking about? There's no, like, his artistry is here. I'm like, what is this insanity that I'm thinking that I need to maintain a thing? I'm like, no, that's not even the vibe. Let's just go for it. And so getting someone like Anya, for example, to do, her style is wildly different from everything that is in Zuperhero Comics. It's cleaner. It's a little more, it has more YA influence, you know, it's just great. And so having someone like her in the mix, it opens everything. It opens the door. It opens the floodgates to all sorts of inspiration that can happen, you know?
Yeah.
And after having done that, I'm like, I want to do that. I love writing scripts. You've seen my scripts, Jamie. They are loosey-goosey.
They are loosey-goosey. It's more, it is a vibe. You sent me songs to listen to.
I did. Yeah.
You were like, hey, listen to these songs and rock this
feel
thing
it.
out. I sent you thumbnails.
Yeah. Which was first time I ever had to interpret those.
Yeah.
It was like you threw a fucking bird in the ocean. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I was like, how do I? I'm like, this is crazy, but I loved it. At the end, I loved it because
I took that again conversation with you after saying you're doing Mad Magazine. That's how Harvey Kurtzman wrote all of the scripts, was in thumbnails, and that's what he would hand the artist.
Interesting.
It was like,
interesting.
He's like, I understand how to tell this story. Make this look good.
Right.
Hire people who are better artists than you, and that's what he did. And,
I mean, it's funny because my side of things is I give you a sentence. I'm like, this is where it starts. This is where it needs to end up ish. You know, I'm like, take your liberties. It's okay. Because at the end, I'll just, I'll make it work. That's how I feel. So I give you all the freedom. But by the time when I dove into your pages, 8 pages, the first one I remember, I was kind of like, oof, this is tough to interpret thumbnails. I don't know. This, like, I feel a little constrained. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then my mind clicked and I was like, wait a second. You're not Mahdi Khene in New York drawing comics. But no. It is 1945. You are doing a Terry and the Pirates thing. There's a typewriter going there, and it's your job. The war is coming, and then it changed everything. And I was just sitting there interpreting these thumbnails and be like, okay, I know what he's trying to do here, but if I do it like this, it might be better. Let's find out. And then you do that. And you just kind of get this thing. And it was wonderful because I think it's all about surrendering, surrendering to the material. And I think once you're able to do that, the world opens up. Like, for real, the world opens up. Yeah.
For me, Marvel Comics, I lived about an hour north of New York City, and it really romanticized the city for me, with Spider-Man and everything being there and stuff like that. And then I lived in San Francisco and then Chicago, and Chicago's got a beautiful skyline, and I could just sit there visualizing Spider-Man and the heroes doing all the thing. And it just really, even when I drive by the city, I just get really jazzed up with the city and the vibe. And how does this, as because you wrote your bootleg Spider-Man, how much of an influence is the city?
It's everything to me. I mean, I'm not someone that takes inspiration from. I'm saying it, I'm realizing I'm lying. But I was gonna say I don't take inspiration from books and stuff. That's not true. Whenever I literally at the beginning of this podcast, I was like, I saw this, now I'm making this. But mostly, what I like to do is sort of go out and just see people and feel things and all these things. And New York is one of those crazy places where you get every spectrum of every emotion of every person on a city block. And so I've had people tell me that New York is a character in my stories, and it is. Without the city, Steel Streets wouldn't happen. The whole Hell's Bed area is just I invented another borough of New York because it's all a vibe. It's I don't know. It means a lot to me. I think. I don't know. I don't think
there'll be a point in time where I'll either be walking through Chicago or be walking through New York City, and I'll just have a smile on my face because, and I'll probably look like an idiot, but I can feel the heartbeat of the city.
Yeah,
and when I get
absolutely.
that, it's just like it's a very awesome moment.
But not everyone is receptive to it, so you got
I don't like those people.
I feel like you looked at me when you said that, and I thought,
oh no, I don't know where you are. I don't know where you are.
Well, I think this is one of the reasons why I like talking to you and I like talking to Matt, and why I kind of keep that kind of personality around me is because I am, so book driven, studied of everything, right? It's like I live in this 1920s to 40s world where that's the art I'm consuming, that's the time period that I find interesting. And so going and walking around the city, doesn't have the same, like, I am looking at a very different thing. I live in Savannah. Savannah is
Right.
very old. I like the
Sure.
oldness of it.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure. Yeah, but that's
moving
not bad
to an
either. I
older
think.
city.
No, Savannah's a guy could have a moment too where you're like, you get you're at the bar, everybody's hanging out. There's like a good vibe. Like, you know, you got Jamie coloring in the corner or doodling in the corner. You got some other
For
people reading
sure.
poetry. You know, like the SCAD students. Like, you can actually you can get vibes everywhere. And
But I think,
usually
but that's the thing.
they're a dive course for me.
Yeah, is that everybody? I think the feeling is the same. It's just what you're looking for and what you get is different, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we get the same feeling. I get the same feeling walking down the street in like whatever downtown than you do in Savannah. It's the same feeling, but it's just a different circumstance. You know, that's all it is. So we're no different. No.
Wow.
We're just all of us artists. We're all just twin souls. It's just so nice.
I just think it's hilarious that you sent Jamie music. If I sent Jamie music with my script, he would just smack the music out of my head. Just like, and we're done. Like,
yeah, that's very true. We have a different relationship, though.
Yeah, right. I can imagine. But I mean, Jamie, the pages you did, I remember. So Jamie did
some of the sexiest things I've ever drawn.
But you know where the script is coming from. It was a story I did where I wanted to take a character from another book of mine, Black and Red, and introduce the mother of a character from Steel Streets. So that's what I did. It's Marissa Francine Franzoni's mom, and the detective from Black and Red, right before the events of Black and Red. And I was inspired by the song A Simple Twist of Fate by Bob Dylan. And it's exactly what I wanted Jamie to do. It's 1950s. It's old. You know, we understand each other. It's old. It's sultry. It's brushes. It's snowy. It's Will Eisner. You know what I mean? It's all these. I also like to cater my scripts to the artists. I always like to ask what they want to draw, what kind of thing they want to do, and then I just think of an avenue for that.
Yeah.
And so then Jamie turned in these pages. You know, like, I'm just gonna show you off for a minute. Look at that. Title in the snow. Look at those eyes. The expression. From a sentence. I said, I forgot what the script was, but they catch each other's eyes and he's entranced. And then he comes up with this. This is what I'm talking about. This is why art is a conversation. Because you say one thing with your own idea, you give it to someone else and he gives you back that. And it's your job to not be closed-minded and to open it and be like, fuck, it's even better than I wanted to say. It's just that's what art is, to me anyway. And with someone like Anya, for example, I asked her, I was like, what do you want to do? Like, let's do something together. What do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. I want to do a team book on a thing. I was like,
I want to do X-Men. That's what I want to do.
Exactly, yeah. And I was just kind of like, done. I need an X-Men. Why not? The Zuperhero Comics universe could use an X-Men. And so I just thought to myself, I'm like, what could be cool? And, you know, I had a whole different, I did a pinup of what I interpreted the characters as. So classic, you know, Mahdi Khene, dark, gritty, whatever, a little sad. And then she comes up with this.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, amazing. So much better. Because of her, they got younger, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just, you know, it was just that. And I came up with a story, and it was just, I don't know, if you're open and you're able to just converse with the people you work with, I think that's when good things can happen. Yeah. I think that's where the magic is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. Anya is a part of the Drink and Draw that I run, so I got to see her drawing a lot of those pages.
Amazing.
So, like, that was super fun. And I was always like, I know what this is for, and this looks really good, and this is like, it's so clearly the best thing she's ever done. It's just, you know, which, as it should be, it's the last thing she's done. Get better every time, but it's really great to see her like really blossom in the direction that she needs to be going. And I like good on you for recognizing it and fostering in the direction.
I mean, absolutely. I saw great talent in Anya, and I like to, whenever I see artists that, like, if I meet an artist and their style is very like labored over, I like to talk to them and get a script I'm like, but go loose, change it up. I wanna see you stripped back. With Jonathan, it was the same thing. He's a painter. He paints his comics, which is insane. I'm like, yo, just hit me with some black ink, dirty, quick. I don't need, just give it to me quick. Let's see what happens. And he's like, all right, fine. Well, and he did it. And I'm like, dude, this is fucking beautiful. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so pushing people a little bit out of their comfort zone, it's just what I do to myself. Yeah. That's all it is. I think if it inspires me, it might inspire someone else, that approach. And with Anya, I think this is her first long form comic. And right when she finished it, she started another project. And I'm like, that's the bug. That's the comics bug. That's what's amazing, is that it becomes a feeding frenzy where you're just like, I have so many stories to tell and not enough time to tell them. So I better get to fucking work.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all it is. Yeah.
It's the only reason I wake up in the morning. That's the reason, 100%, right? 100%. Because you have to do it, because otherwise you're just going to be miserable. Yep.
Exactly. Because the theory isn't enough anymore. There was a time where I just like thinking about it, where it's like, oh, it would be cool if this, it would be cool if that. But now, if the page isn't in the program with the lettering and everything, by the end of the day, I feel strange. I feel weird.
Yeah. Do you? Are you a page a day guy? Or are you a fully lettered end of the day? These are questions that we should be asking, but
yeah. It depends. I go with some days I used to be a page a day, dogged, but then I sort of became a little more, because I was a page a day when I was working full time at a cafe, because I had limited time. And so I was just like, if it carries over, pretty soon it'll be overwhelming and I won't be able to catch up, and then I'll lose the dream. And so I would do that. But then luckily, very lucky, I got to go full time making comics. And so then I had a lot more time on my hands, and I was able to kind of forge a different type of schedule, a different type of approach to it. And now I learned that, I can pencil 2 pages in one day, 3 pages even, and then ink 2 tomorrow. And then by the end of the week, I like to have around about 7 pages done, something like that, just to keep the momentum. Mm-hmm. But for example, now I'm doing this Lightman thing, but I'm also working on Steel Streets at the same time, and also writing Punk Slim and Mop Top Bop 2. That's set for February. I don't know. Sometimes the workload just there's a lot at once, and you're just kind of like, how did this happen? And then sometimes there's nothing, and you're like, I need to do something. So I don't know. It ebbs and flows, but I do like to have a finished page by the end of the day.
Yeah.
What I like to do is, it's amazing.
I have. Oh yeah, no, go. I have bricklayer mentality, and I don't feel like I've done anything unless I put another piece of paper on the stack of paper.
Absolutely. Yeah. It has to be paper, and I even do my little borders, so the next day I can just go in.
Yeah. The prep work.
Yeah, we're all psychos. That's what it is. But but it's important. It's important to have that fucking working man's mentality, because it is. It's a craft. It's not just artsy fartsy doing these things. It's a craft, and so you have to be disciplined. You have to make sure your pencils are sharp and your ink is wet. You know what I mean? You gotta be sometimes a little disciplinarian with yourself.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I like to compile it in the PDF and then put it on my computer, even if it's just 3 pages. I like to just scroll back and forth and be like, oh, this is looking good. This is nice. This is nice. To me, anyway, that's the thing. But,
I got an email yesterday that said Anya is going to be at IC3.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's going to be, that's also part of the vision. In my head, in 10 years, what am I talking about? 5 years, I'm going to have a block of tables at New York Comic Con. Superhero Comics.
Oh, I thought you were going to say IC3.
5 years New York Comic Con, 2 years IC3.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Exactly.
Listen, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're actually thinking.
Thank you. Yeah. You see, you're in my, like I said, this year at IC3, I'm going to have a block. But that's the bigger vision. Right now, I like the idea of us, being at our own tables, but it's a little selfish, but there's Zuperhero Comics sprinkled everywhere, And then pretty soon it's going to be a block, and then it's going to be an office, and it's going to be a bullpen, and it's going to be hair plugs, and I'm going to be making movies, and do cameos, and then celebrity, and then call it a day. Punch out.
Perfect. Mahdi, it's been great. We loved talking to you. We have a lightning round before that we ask everybody the same questions. Very James Lipton of us.
All right, yeah.
Of me. Are you ready?
Let's see.
Lightning round. Answer quickly.
Okay.
This is episode 5. We've done 5 of these, which is wild.
Wow.
Congratulations, Matt. We did 5. Are you ready for the general questions? Here we go. Question number 1. What are you bringing / premiering to IC3 this year?
I'm going to bring 2 new books, Creep Sneak Kill and Punk Slim and Mop Top Bop 2. And perhaps the third one. We'll see.
Oh, tease us more. What is the strange art tool that you grab all the time?
Toothbrush.
Toothbrush. Perfect.
Toothbrush.
Are you a schedule or feeling creator? I feel like we have
What the
discussed
fuck do you
this.
think, Jay?
Yeah. I feel like we discussed that a lot. Feeling. What is your proudest moment as a comic book creator?
When at IC3, that someone came and gifted me the Hiroshi helmet that he had made.
Oh yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
That was so
And then at Terrificon, he came in full garb. So I've had my first cosplay.
Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
think that was surreal. That was surreal.
Who is your biggest influence?
You, Jamie.
I'll take it. Who is your favorite Disney princess?
I mean, Jasmine, just because I'm from Algeria. You know, I need to my Arab brothers and sisters, I gotta give it to them.
And with the final question, what stories interest you?
Stories about the human condition, I think. Yeah. But wrapped in the extraordinary and the super. I think that's what it is.
Nice.
Awesome. Mahdi, thank you so much for your time, man. It's
been a pleasure, fellas. It's been a pleasure. I feel like we only just scratched the surface.
You're gonna be back. You're coming back.
More
have to talk
episodes.
again. Yeah. Maybe a live thing at IC3. We'll do a fun.
We're doing a panel together. The final panel of the show is Jamie Jones and Mahdi Khene. By the by.
Well, there you go. I think we are. Yes, perfect. Everyone be there. It's gonna be legendary. All right, gents. Thank you so much, huh?